The desert air hung heavy, almost suffocating in its intensity. It pressed down on John Smith like a shroud, wrapping him in an invisible cloak of oppression. The sun beat down relentlessly, an unyielding force that showed no mercy. It baked the sand and reflected off the rubble that was once a town, now reduced to mere fragments of its former self. Each breath was a struggle in the heat, each inhale feeling like a battle against the elements. Each gust of wind carried the taste of dust and something else, something acrid. The smell of war, a scent that lingered and clung to everything. I was a soldier, trained for combat and survival. Yet, I felt so out of place, as if I had been dropped into a world that wasn't mine. The desert seemed to stretch endlessly around me, a sea of sand and sorrow, an expanse that swallowed hope. Back home, in America, life was simple, predictable, and filled with small joys. I had a family, a dog. Life had made sense, and there was a rhythm to my days. Here, there was no sense, only chaos and destruction that seemed to have no end, only the constant thrum of anxiety that vibrated through my bones. I longed for peace, a peace that seemed so distant. John closed his eyes, picturing his wife's face, her smile that always brought him comfort. The green of his backyard, a sanctuary of calm and normalcy. Anything to drown out the memories that flickered behind his eyelids, memories that refused to fade. Images of the faces he had seen, faces that told stories of pain and loss, faces twisted in pain and fear. Those faces haunted him, a constant reminder of the cost of war. They whispered that peace was a luxury he could no longer afford, a distant dream that seemed unreachable. Then, through the haze of despair, I saw him, a figure that seemed almost unreal. An old man sitting amidst the ruins, a picture of serenity in the midst of chaos. He sat with an improbable calmness, a stark contrast to the chaos that surrounded him. This was something different, something that drew me in. This was something I needed, a glimpse of peace in a world torn apart. The old man was Omar. He had a long white beard and kind eyes that spoke of wisdom aged over countless seasons. His eyes, though tired, held a spark of life that seemed to defy the desolation around him. He sat amidst the ruins of his home, seemingly unfazed by the destruction around him. The crumbling walls and shattered windows were mere backdrops to his serene presence. His tranquility was a beacon. In a place where chaos reigned, Omar's calmness was like a lighthouse guiding lost ships through a storm. John, drawn to this strange sense of peace, approached cautiously. He had seen many things in the war, but nothing quite like this. "Hello?" John said, his voice raspy from the dust. The air was thick with it, making every breath a struggle. Omar smiled, his eyes twinkling. It was a smile that spoke of understanding, of shared pain, and unspoken stories. He spoke no English, yet somehow they understood each other. Words were unnecessary in the face of such profound connection. Perhaps it was the universal language of shared humanity, of two souls seeking solace in a world that had seemingly gone mad. In the midst of chaos, they found a rare moment of peace. Or maybe it was something more, a deeper connection that transcended the barriers of language and culture. John found himself drawn to Omar. There was something magnetic about the old man, something that made John feel safe. He visited him every day. Each visit was a small escape from the harsh realities of the war. They sat together in the rubble. The silence between them was comforting, a shared understanding that needed no words. They shared what little food and water they had. Each meal was a testament to their resilience and their will to survive. They talked, mostly through gestures and expressions. Every gesture, every nod, was a conversation in itself. Omar's presence was a calming influence. In his company, John felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in a long time. The old man radiated a quiet strength, a deep well of peace that John found himself clinging to. It was as if Omar's very being was a sanctuary amidst the chaos, a place where John could find a moment of respite. Omar, John learned, was a man of faith. He was a Muslim, and his belief in Allah was the bedrock of his being. He spoke of peace, not as the absence of conflict, but as a state of mind, a stillness in the heart of the storm.
One day, Omar brought out a worn copy of the Quran. He pointed to a passage and then to the sky. He spoke of God's mercy, of forgiveness, of the importance of kindness.
John, raised in a different faith, found himself captivated. There was a truth in Omar's words, a truth that transcended language and religion. It was a truth that resonated deep within him, stirring something he hadn't realized was dormant. Could peace truly exist in this ravaged land, in the midst of such suffering? Omar seemed to think so, and slowly John began to believe. Then, one day, the peace was shattered. The whine of approaching vehicles cut through the air. Gunfire erupted. The relative calm of the ruined village was ripped apart by the screams of the returning soldiers. John, his heart pounding, grabbed his rifle. But Omar remained seated. He simply closed his eyes and began to pray. The calmness in the face of such terror was astounding. It was then that I understood. Omar wasn't oblivious to the danger. He wasn't ignorant of the fear. He simply chose peace as his shield. A stray bullet caught Omar in the shoulder. Blood bloomed, staining his white robe a horrifying crimson. John, his own fear momentarily forgotten, rushed to his friend's side. He dragged Omar to safety as the world dissolved into chaos around them. John never forgot the look in Omar's eyes as he clutched his wound. It wasn't pain that filled them, but a deep sadness, a sorrow for the hatred that consumed the world. Omar survived the attack but never fully recovered. He died a few weeks later, his hand clasped tightly in John's. I returned to America a changed man. I was honorably discharged, but found myself lost in the normalcy of my old life. The faces of the war haunted him. The constant noise of the city grated on his nerves. Peace, that elusive dream, seemed further away than ever. His wife, sensing his inner turmoil, tried to understand, but how could she? How could anyone comprehend the things he had seen, the things he had felt? One evening, I stumbled upon a small, wrapped package I hadn't noticed before. It was tucked away in a corner, almost as if it had been waiting for me to find it. It was Omar's Quran, entrusted to me on the old man's deathbed. He had handed it to me with a look of profound trust and a silent plea in his eyes. With trembling hands, I unwrapped the book. Each fold of the wrapping felt like peeling back layers of memories. The scent of sand and something else, something vaguely familiar, wafted from its pages. It was as if the book carried the essence of the desert within its pages. I traced the elegant Arabic script. The intricate calligraphy seemed to dance under my fingertips, each stroke telling a story of its own. Suddenly, I was back in the rubble, the desert wind whipping around me as Omar spoke of faith and peace. His words had been a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. A promise had been made, a promise to honor his faith and to find peace within myself. Not in words, but in the shared silence between two souls. That silence had spoken volumes, more than any words could. I opened the book and began to read. The words seemed to flow into me, filling a void I hadn't known existed. I immersed myself in the Quran. I devoured the words, each verse resonating deeply within me. I lost myself in the verses. They transported me to a place of reflection and introspection. The more I read, the more I felt a sense of calm I hadn't realized I'd been craving. It was as if the words were soothing my soul. It wasn't a blind acceptance of everything I read. It was something deeper. It was a connection to Omar, to the desert, and to a part of myself I had long forgotten. John converted to Islam. He took a new name, Yahya, embracing the faith that had brought him closer to the peace he so desperately craved. His family and friends were surprised, even skeptical at first, but they saw the change in him, the calmness that had replaced the haunted look in his eyes. They saw a man who had found his way out of the darkness. Yahya, no longer John Smith the soldier, found his calling. I started speaking at veterans meetings. I shared my story. I spoke of Omar, of faith, of finding peace in a world that seemed determined to destroy it. My words resonated. They struck a chord with other veterans who were also battling their own internal wars. Yahya's message was simple, yet profound. It was a message born in the ashes of war and nurtured by the unwavering faith of an old man in a ruined village. He spoke of the importance of understanding, of compassion. He spoke of the power of forgiveness, both of oneself and of others. He taught that peace wasn't something you found on a battlefield or in a therapist's office. It was something you cultivated within yourself. It was a conscious choice you made every single day. He became a beacon of hope for many lost souls, a testament to the power of faith and the resilience of the human spirit. Yahya's journey was a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. It showcased the transformative power of faith and the importance of seeking peace, not just for oneself, but for the world around us. His story reminds us that even in the darkest of times, even amidst the ruins of war, hope can bloom. It underscores the importance of compassion, understanding, and forgiveness. It whispers that true peace comes not from the absence of conflict, but from the strength we find within ourselves to face the world with open hearts and a willingness to understand. For in understanding, we find peace.